finished the buffing on the boat, got about halfway down and the polisher's broken, so it's not one thing, it's another, eh? So we're down to elbow grease. Good old elbow grease. There's rain coming, so I just want to get this really just cleaned up a bit. I can finish it off another day and give it a proper polish. It's going to have a wax anyway, not today though. So I need to do a little bit of gel coating here and there, so I don't want any wax on it. This is just like a rubbing kind of compound, a very fine one. All I wanted to do was get the oxidization off the sort of white you get on it. White boats you don't tend to see it, but blue one you see it. Right, today we're going to be cutting a hole through this seat. I know, it's brutal, but it's got to be done. I've got to have the transducer cable and the wiring coming up through here to obviously the electronics. Now you think, well, maybe I could go through the side of the box, but then that leaves a cable on top. On top of that, I'd rather have a hole, because this is like going to be a dry box, but at the same time, you know what salt air is like and salt water, you can get moisture. So by having a hole there, if any water finds its way in, it can find its way out straight away, out through the cable hole. Most of the time it will run off, but there will be a bar here because you've got to stop your box from getting broken into. On top of that, I mean, I would personally, I would rather get a bigger seat, a little bit wider, because this isn't the greatest fit here, and if it was a little bit wider it would cover this pump, or the pump well, which it doesn't. Half the pump well is obviously protruding out, well, not half of it, but a little bit of it, so the seat would be better being another inch wider. But to buy a piece, it's obviously more cost, and when you're doing this sort of thing, you've got to think of cost. You can't just, if I kept going out and buying this, like £100 for a bit of wood, 200 for that, 300 for that, before you know it, I'd just as well gone out and got a new boat. So that's what you've got to think of a lot of the time. And where I am, it's not easy getting hold of hardwoods and that sort of thing anyway, being on an island. So we're going to go straight through here. I'm just going to check that this is about right. Yeah, we're clear there. So make sure I don't end up coming through the fibre, although no. Some people are going to be cringing now so hard and you're like, the seat. I know what you mean. But like I said, it's got to be done. I've marked out where the fish box is going to go, so we'll take it just a little bit in, so we're not, let me think, yeah, about there, because that's marked from the wood, yeah, so it should be fine about there. You might have thought the wood was hard, it's quite thick, I know that. But I've taken it easy because I didn't want to, like the wood splintering off the back, which it hasn't, is actually fine, yeah, perfect. If I push too hard, then you can end up splitting the wood off the back. You only go through one way. So there we go. Now, see, it's got to be big enough that things like this is the end of the transducer cable, can fit through it. This is going to be close, I think. I'll have to take that. Might have to make it a little bit bigger, yeah, I'm going to have to go a little bit bigger. So that's that. Right, so we've been fitting on the auxiliary engine mount, and it's been a bit of a tricky one. We've taken the name off because the name will go on to the other side. It's all about balance. I want the weight on the left because obviously we're going to have the winch on the right, and all the pots, anything like that, fishing, it all gets done from the right of the boat, not the left. So that's why we put it on the left. Plus we can adjust the fuel tanks, things like that, if I find that the weight's too much. But anyway, we've had to put it right as far as we could go this way. We don't want to go any further because we don't want the engine poking out the side. But at the same time, you've got to allow enough room so you've got the ability to turn, because when you use the auxiliary, quite often you'll use the main engine for steering, because it's very difficult to steer it all with a small engine, especially when it's back here, especially when they're trying to come in amongst a lot of boats. So you need to be able to steer with that one and turn it. Anyway, it's only to get us out of trouble if the situation arises. As you can see, we've put it on, we've put mastic on the back here. That's to stop moisture getting in between the metal and the boat, because what it does is it corrodes the back of the aluminium and pits it if it gets in there. So I always put a bit of mastic on the back just to stop that happening. The mount is down at the moment. I'll show you what it's like in a second with it up. And that's the boat when it's up, the bracket when it's up, when the engine will be up. And of course you'll have your main engine up here, so that should be about right, and it'll probably just dip in the water, so we'll have to probably tilt it up a little bit. Right, well, there's the bit of wood under there. We have to do an L shape to accommodate it because of the trough or whatever it is for the where the engine is. So that's marine ply. It goes through, there's actually obviously the transom under there as well, which is obviously a big sheet of wood. But we've gone through another sheet of marine ply just to make it super strong. And then we're going to do the same with the sounder, because the sounder, originally the transducer was just screwed into the fiberglass, but I'm going to put a backing piece of wood with a bit of sealant on as well, so it's got something to screw into. And that is what it looks like from in here. I can put some serious pressure on it. Okay, ready, go! Right, so we've just put a piece of wood in for the sounder because I'm not happy with it just being in the fibre. That's how it was originally, but we've just put a backing with some mastic on as well and screwed straight through into that. So I'm just working on the float switch for the boat, and this was the float switch here. As you can see, it's quite big, it's not going to fit in there, but inside here, that is the actual float switch, which you can see is a lot smaller than that. And we only want the small one, so I've ripped it out of that because we don't want that. And then what I've done is, at the moment, I'm in the process of working on this. This is an old bracket for a fish finder. I've got plenty of spare ones of these. This is just, like I say, one's kicking around. So what I've done is I've cut it there like so. I will put a hole in here for this to pivot into either side, like this. And these bits I will turn them in just to stop this when it's in. Well, it'll be like that, you see. When it goes up, those bars inside will just give it something to rest against, so it doesn't go all the way up and get stuck up there or anything if there's a lot of water and it's not pumping it out fast enough or anything like that. So anyway, it's just to stop it standing on end and getting jammed upwards. So that'll be the idea there. It'll go in there, like I say, be pivoted, and this will be bolted in, and hopefully that's not too long. That's still shorter than a standard one. Well, I say a standard one, those square ones you get, because I want the wires out the front particularly. I don't like them on the left because they wear and they snap, and a lot of the ones I've had like that last a year to 18 months, and that's not good enough. So we'll try it, we'll see. If not, I'll have to go and find another one, but pretty sure this will work. There it is, you've got the stopper at the top so it doesn't go too high and get jammed. It goes up and down in there, and on top of that we've got slots here, you see that there, so we can make an adjustment for the height to get it where we want it to pump the water out if it's not pumping too low or too high. Having a few teething problems with the float switch. It wasn't coming up high enough. Might be the way the boat is at the moment, or level, or just the way it's fitted in, but I've adjusted it now so it'll come up higher. Plus what I can do, because I'm a bit worried if it goes up too high that it could get stuck like that, you see. But what I will do, what I can do, is a trick I used years ago, is if you get a piece of cork, strap it underneath with a bit of bicycle inner tube, normally does the trick because it won't rot then, and strap a bit of cork on there, then this will raise a lot quicker with the water depth, and when it gets up there it adds weight to the base, thereby helps pull it back down. But it's a good way if your float switch isn't getting all the water you want to add a little bit of cork underneath. But we'll see how we get on with this first, if it we'll see if it needs it or not. Apart from that, everything else was going rather well with the wiring and stuff. It's definitely got better height to it. So I'm going to be putting up this pole, which is the pole up there. That's for radar reflector and white boat light, which is required by the having a license on the boat. Goes well. The idea is here, like this, go into there, lock it in position, that, and then that will go behind there somehow, maybe like that. I might put a rod rest here, I don't know yet, or a rod stand, not rod rest. Yeah, so it should work out. Mini drill for those awkward screws. Comes in handy. Not very often, but it does. Right, well, that's on there. Now I've left it longer. I thought about doing this, but I might put a rod there because it's easy to see over it, but I might just put it down here, one of the rod stands, and then here I might put like a knife holder or hooks for a lobster gauge maybe. But now I'm thinking about putting maybe something to drop a knife or two in there, so the knives are always accessed very easily. You always know where they are because it's important. We'll see how we get on. But I'm just going to wire this up now, take this down around through there, and it'll be good. There you have it. Anti-foul's been straightened up. Boat's been burnished. Unfortunately the polisher broke on the polishing part, so it's not been finished yet. But we'll get to that. Probably have to do it by elbow grease. There we go, radar reflector. There we go, radar reflector's in. We've got it blocked down the bottom and it's screwed through to stop it going onto the boat, otherwise if the pole ever moves it would slowly wear into the fibre. And then up here we've got the wire coming up the side, goes underneath to all the wiring system. A bit of hardwood on the back there where it's bracketed with a piece of stainless. That's actually the bracket that came off the other boat, so I just adapted it. And we got our float switch working in here. I've got no power on at the moment. So as you can see there, that all works. Probably can hear the pumps on. The light works, although we won't be able to see it in this light. Turn the pump off. So we got light, the little white light. We've got the pump. We've got the sonar. We've got the GPS. Now, I've wired them separately so I can switch them off. Plus we've got our USB sockets there. That'll be good for charging stuff or if the cameras go a bit flat. We've got a lighter socket in here. Although I might take that out and actually put the voltmeter in there. I don't know. I haven't decided. But for now we'll just leave it like that. And then inside, you'll probably see down in there, maybe, possibly. There's the wiring and there's the kill switch, which is just bumped like that. This is all fused. And looking around to this way, you've got this is for the winch, the kill switch for that. So that goes in there. That's not wired, that's just a spare. But this is separate from those. They're not on the same line. And then down to here, still sorting this bit out, but you can see we've got the wiring for the batteries. So we've got our winches and charging here, and the thin wires, or the thinner wires, are the electrics to the sounder, pump, that kind of thing. Plus we have a float switch down here, which has now been sorted, and you can hear, maybe, that it puts it on when it reaches like that. Now if I have a problem with the water being too deep, I can always add a piece of cork or polystyrene which will be strapped onto the bottom of the float switch just to raise it up a little bit. You'll see that everything is taped. They are connected in there, greased, and then tape put over the top to prevent any kind of corrosion. Everything's sealed off. This still needs to be sorted, but there's going to be a thing along the back here, a piece of wood all the way along, so you won't see any of that anyway. So we're getting there. So we just got a few more jobs. Got to get the winch back on the boat, get it in there permanently, put the arm thing at the front, sort out the sounders in the boxes, the brackets, little things like putting a bar on the back for the rope so it doesn't go near the engine, putting a device for pinning the crabs, and a few other bits and pieces. Put all the cuddies back on, and we'll be ready to go. And hopefully this week then I'm going to start roping these up as well, just get a few of them done, and we'll start putting them out. So hopefully next week we'll start throwing a few pots out, and then within, like I say, the week, this coming week or possibly the next week, the boat's going in the water and we'll be back fishing. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for the fishing, so the time is nearly upon us.